I'm on the set dealing with the director trying to make the guns go bang. Everything else we did was the same, except it would have a shorter barrel extension. And you can see he's still building an M16 here. And oh look, another M16. Not gonna happen. Absolute, total, freaking nightmare.
Hey guys, this is Stevens from the German fan group of Starship Troopers. During our events, our fans are asking us very often about our huge weapons, the Morita. Of course, we can tell them a lot of details about it, but why not ask a real expert? Why not ask Rock Galotti himself, the former weapon master of Starship Troopers? So let's go. Follow me to our studio in Berlin. First, I'm very glad that it was possible to make that happen after our meeting. So it's, yeah, I would say a kind of unbelievable thing, but it is possible over the internet nowadays.
It is.
And I'm very happy that we talked in the forum about to drink a beer in Germany. And
we're drinking, let's drink a beer in Germany.
yes, let's drink a beer in Germany.
Prost. 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 For those of you watching, best beer ever, Augustine Brau. Oh, best beer.
To make some advertisement,
Yeah.
Best beer of Bavaria, Augustiner Edelstoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay, so it's 11 o'clock in the morning here, and we're drinking beer because
time to drink beer.
that's what you do in Germany, you drink beer.
Usually, usually.
I drink beer here.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm drinking beer. Okay.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about?
About, preferred talk about Starship Troopers. So,
Okay.
Of course.
That's why you're here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, that's why I'm here.
You don't want to talk about Corona or anything like that?
Oh, no.
Okay,
no,
good.
No.
Good, because I'm about done talking about Corona.
There are enough discussions nowadays in TV and in the public. So, no. Let's talk about Starship Troopers. And could you tell me how you entered into this project?
Yeah, I'm good friends with a special effects guy named John Richardson. And John had been hired to do the special effects on the movie. And John said, hey, I know an armor that would be perfect for this. And had a call from John saying, you know, I'm going to give your number to somebody if that's okay. I said, sure, no problem. First thing I said is, are you working on it? And he said, yes, I'm working on it. I said, okay, if you're working on it, I'm willing to work on it. He gave my number to production. A guy named Bob Brown gave me a call. Hey, I'd like you to come in, have a meeting with Paul Verhoeven. Went in, met with Paul. Paul and I got along great. Everything was wonderful. Next thing I know is I'm on the show. And then we had to figure out what we were doing on the show. So, yeah, it was, I mean, literally a friend giving me a call, looking out and just saying, hey, I want to work with you. Let's do something.
So it was per chance.
Yeah, back then it was. Nowadays,
and some connections,
Yeah, just friends.
Yeah.
You know, just friends. This is what, in the film industry, especially in Los Angeles, this is what happens. Friends look out for friends. So when you like working with somebody and there's an opportunity to work with them again, you try to capitalize on that opportunity and work with them. You mentioned people's names that you like that might be a good fit for the project. And John thought that I'd be a good fit for the project. And then I, in turn, recommended a guy named Dale Dye as the military advisor. So I came in, I said, who's the military advisor? We don't have one. I said, well, I happen to know a guy. So it's just kind of the way movies worked back then in LA.
Understand,
yeah.
And what was your responsibility during this project?
My responsibility in this project was guns. everything guns. Started with, meeting with the director, coming up with ideas. Originally, Paul Verhoeven was talking about laser guns.
That's interesting.
And during,
I never heard
he was talking about laser guns. What we did
but
is
maybe a part of the laser guns was used
during the training session, and that's what Paul and I discussed, because Paul said, "I'm thinking laser guns and blah blah," and I said, and this is exactly what I told him. I said, "All right, so we're doing this real big, these giant action scenes, and you have guys standing there with rifles going pew 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 with little lasers, and nothing's happening."
Yeah.
I says, "It's not exciting."
Yes.
What's more exciting, Paul, to see giant fireballs coming out of guns and brass pouring out the side as guys are fighting for their life? And he goes, "I love it. Yes, 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 yes." So that's what we ended up doing. I talked him into doing that, and then we talked about during the training sequence. I said, lasers are perfect there. It's like an updated version of the Miles gear that we use in the military, where you fire this beep, 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 and you know that you've been hit. So, Paul it didn't take a lot of convincing, just explained it the right way, and he liked it. Then we went forward from there. He was convinced.
Okay.
There was blanks.
And were you responsible for all kind of guns or just the rifle ones? So, because in the movie we had also this
Those are mine too.
big guys and
So anything that fired blanks.
What about grenades?
No, I didn't do grenades. Props did the grenades. Props did the knives. I did anything that would go bang.
Launcher?
The rocket launcher, props did. So if it fires gunpowder, I did it.
Okay.
So all the Maritas, all the Marita carbines, and the tower guns were my responsibility.
Oh, were they also live firing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Those were M250 caliber machine guns that had a Soviet Dishka barrel on it, DSHK barrel, for a different look. That's why it kind of has that fanned look. And then we actually bought 3 World War II era 50 caliber twin machine gun boat mounts to mount the guns to. So we painted them a little bit deeper gray, and then we had the little facades made around them, the little sheet metal. Actually, there is one of these still in existence. One mount with the brass catcher, with the link catcher, with the ammo trays, with the front shields, with everything. There's one in existence, and it's in my shop.
It is a very huge and impressive project. So, and during the shooting, of course, blanks were only used.
Yes, blanks were only used. We didn't use any live ammunition.
Yeah.
We never used live.
Sure.
So blanks and, of course, rubber guns, as everybody knows.
But nevertheless, were there any rules for security from the government to do that? Did you need any special permission to use that during the
No. I'm permitted and licensed for anything I want. I can have machine guns. I can have anything I want in the United States. As people around the world are well aware, the United States is a gun country. We were founded on guns.
We have heard about it.
Yes. The United States, it exists because of guns. Our enemies came over and said we had to do something, we shot them in the face.
And yourself are also...
I'm a heavy gun owner. I'm a
huge gun shop
huge,
I have seen in
yes.
LA.
Yeah, I have a very large gun rental facility. I'm not the biggest, but I have a very large one. I'm obviously very pro-Second Amendment. I'm very pro-gun. That's what I do for a living. It would be kind of strange not to be pro-gun and do guns for a living. I'm not like a lot of other people that will say, "Oh, I don't like guns," but then they'll do movies about guns. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So.
Short break for the advertisement. If you like our t-shirt design, then please visit our web shop. They have also other designs available, like this one, and they ship worldwide. The link to our web shop you will find in the description below. Let's continue with the interview.
The first present was my beer.
Yes, the first present was...
Which is important.
Yeah, most important. Therefore, I see that as the second present.
Yeah.
So, but this is, yeah, I hope you like the color. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Compared to your...
That's fantastic.
Yeah, from the... Many
Yeah.
greetings from the German division, mobile infantry.
There you go. I'll be like an honorary German division armorer. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Okay, so what's your next question? So well, let's see. Okay, so my responsibilities, anything that went bang. So all the firing guns. I had responsibility to teach the actors how to use the guns. I had the responsibility to maintain the guns, to repair the guns, to clean the guns, to build the guns, to everything.
That's an interesting point, to build the guns. Could you tell us something about the process from the designing? So I mean some drawings.
Okay, this right here.
Art department
This
until the finished product. Let's
Okay.
say.
So I had a conversation with Paul.
And another question: why there were used live fire
Blank guns?
guns? Yeah. So was it for the pure to save to make additional effects?
No, okay, I see where you're going. All right, I'll explain this. It's pretty easy. Okay, so having discussions with Paul, after Paul decided that we were going to use blanks for the guns. You can't fire blanks without having real weapons. So, yeah, you can do an 8mm starter pistol, but it's an 8mm starter pistol and they're scheisse, okay? They just don't work. So I've learned a few German words. So for you, those of you in Germany, I've learned ja, scheisse, and verpiss
Yeah,
so,
the most,
yeah, those are the most important words that I knew, and I learned those coming in right away.
Yeah.
So I can yell at people on the road when they're being stupid, etc. So the airsoft wasn't really a thing back then, and airsoft is scheisse too. Here's the thing. I just did Avatar 2 and 3. So I worked with Jim Cameron, and Jim, even for motion capture, excuse me, he likes to use blank firing guns. And here's the reason. If you are taking an airsoft gun and you are firing at somebody in a gunfight, there is no intensity. The actors don't react like they're being shot at.
Yeah.
You put gunfire in there and it adds an element of tension. Mm-hmm. Okay? So Paul wanted that, not to mention that the only way, we can't build a gun from scratch. If I was to build the Merida from scratch and design everything, including the barrel and everything, it would have cost millions of dollars. We would have had to test it and to make sure it was 100% safe. There was going to be no failures. Every component would have to be made. It would have just been absolutely, ridiculous cost and not cost effective at all.
So that was in fact the reason to base it on any real existing one.
That was my suggestion. As I said, we need to, what I told Paul is I want to take the gun, I want to take a gun, pick the gun we want to use, and then build a shell housing around it. Mm-hmm. Okay, they did it for Aliens. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've done it for movies since Starship Troopers, before Starship Troopers and after. Mm-hmm. It's just how much you want to do. Do you want to put a couple little things on it to keep the original look like they did for RoboCop? They used a Beretta and they made it bigger, or do you want to change the whole overall look of it like we did? Mm-hmm. So I had worked on a movie before that called Tank Girl. And Tank Girl, we used a rifle stock called a Mini 14 muzzle light. Okay, it's a muzzle light stock. This is exactly what it looks like. This drawing is of the exact rifle I brought in to show them. Okay, and I can tell you this for a fact. because that knob there was to screw a scope on the top here for the gun on Tank Girl. This forward pistol grip, I attached to the front of that for Tank Girl. If you go to Tank Girl and look at the movie, you'll see this is the exact gun without the optic. And then this was a shroud that went over the barrel and pinned right over here to give it a little bit meaner look. So this is an existing stock that was manufactured called muzzle light. But we did not want to use a muzzle light. We wanted something, because muzzle light had been in a bunch of movies. Even if I had changed the look by putting a forward grip on it and things like that, it was still not unique enough. So they took this picture and they began to elaborate on that. I said, let's make it longer. Let's make it more like a real heavy-duty battle rifle. Okay? So, and then
Have you different studies of...
Well, like this one here, that was a concept that Paul liked, so it became like a futuristic. This one was really good. Everybody liked it, but it was based on an M16. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way we're doing that. Buffer assemblies and everything else, it was just too difficult.
Jim was talking about that the basic idea was based on an M16.
That's what he wanted, and I said no.
Okay.
Here's the thing, and I like Jim. Jim's a great guy, but Jim draws pictures. I have to make stuff work. Okay, so Jim's in an office drawing things for people and coming up with conceptual ideas, talking to the director and trying to write down the director's vision. I'm on the set dealing with the director trying to make the guns go bang. So everybody wanted an M16 and I said absolutely not. We are not using an M16. We can't remote load it like we can here. There I have a buffer assembly. It would not work in the look we wanted to do. Not going to happen. Not to mention if there was any issues or malfunctions, pardon me, I have to tear apart the entire weapon to get to it. So M16, that's what the conceptual guys, that's what Jim wanted because that's what he was familiar with. We didn't use that because it wouldn't work. Regardless of what anybody's story is going to tell you, I'm the guy that assembled the guns. M16s were never even a consideration on my book. Absolutely not. It was mentioned for about 2 seconds and I shot it down. They kept bringing it up and I said, basically, excuse my language, stop talking about the fucking M16s. We're not using them. Period. We're not doing it. Okay. The two handles here, great little look, not practical. Just not practical. It's two original M16 here. Look, Jim's a really talented guy, obviously you can see. And they took a lot of different looks and they built this, but none of it was going to work. The shotgun idea was my idea. Sorry to say to everybody, the shotgun idea was a conversation I had with Paul Verhoeven. And I said, we should put another gun. And they kept talking about wanting to put it on top of the gun. And I said, no, how are you supposed to pump the freaking gun on top? You need it below. They've been mounting shotguns below since like Vietnam. You need to mount it below. Well, you know, we think it'd be cool up top. You can't fire it.
Yeah.
It's a pump shotgun. How are you supposed to, you're going to be like this, racking the gun, or have a handle here on the side, and now all the weight of the gun? No. It has to be down here. So I won that battle. My conversation with Paul was, we'll use 12 gauge blanks, but we'll say they're like a depleted uranium or depleted nuke or a mini nuke or something like that. Let's call it something really gnarly. So, and he's like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So the concept started showing the shotgun at that point. And you can see he's still building an M16 here. And oh, look, another M16. Not going to happen. Okay. So there were discussions on maybe we can put a magazine here. No. In order to make this work correctly, there's only so much you can do with the mechanics of the gun. The question was, what gun are we going to use? That was the biggest question. I knew that the muzzle light the original gun I brought in that Jim drew the picture of, right? Which is probably this one here. Nope. Scheisse, here it is. This picture here that Jim drew is of a muzzle light gun that was used on a previous film. Great. Perfect. The gun that went in this was a Ruger Mini 14. semi-automatic rifle. That's what this was designed for. So, doing research, what gun are we going to use? What gun can I get lots of? Where are we going to, how many can we get? Mini 14 was readily available. So, the full automatic version of a Mini 14 is called an AC556. They make two versions of it. They make a short version and a long version. Full-size rifle and a compact with a folding stock. What I did is I only had a couple, but I needed a lot more. So I went to every rental company in Los Angeles and said, how many do you have? I've got 15. I'll take them all. I'm going to rent all of them. How many do you have? I've got 20. I'll take them all. But I still needed more. So I started, at the time, you can buy machine guns in the United States, but you have to have special licenses, you have to be a special dealer, or you have to pay a huge outrageous tax amount and have a big background check and everything else. So I went on to, at the time we had a paper called Shotgun News, and Shotgun News would list a machine gun section, and I would look for AC556s. And they weren't selling. Nobody wanted them. Okay, they wanted the M16s, they wanted this, they wanted the MP5s, they wanted everything. The Ruger AC556 was not selling. So there were, I think it was eight or nine for sale at the time. And at the time, they were about $1,100 US, $1,100 US dollars. So I went ahead and I called each one of these people and I arranged to buy the gun, all in a day, within a few hours of each other. So I bought every available AC556 in the country in a day. Everything was on Shotgun News, and I found a couple more from other independent sellers that somebody says, I know somebody has one for sale. So I bought I think I bought 13 in one day. Transfers went in, dried up. No AC556s available. So people that had AC556s in their safes decided, hey, I'm going to sell them, but the last one sold for $1,100. I'm going to sell mine for $1,400. And a couple more would go on. Well, now nobody's buying them still because they didn't buy them at $1,100. They're not going to buy them at $14.
So the stocks go up. Initiated.
I basically forced the price up. So at $1,400, I waited till there was like 5 available, and I went and bought all 5 again. And I kept doing this game. The AC556s got up to about $1,800. And at that point, I was out. I had bought all I needed to buy to make the movie happen. Then I contacted my friends at Ruger, and I bought semi-automatic versions of the rifle. And gosh, I want to say I bought 50 of them. So I ordered 50, and they ship them to my license. And so now we've got all the guns we need. Prices of the AC556s went up again. They were about $2,200, and then they stayed there. And they've gone up since, of course, but at that point I was out. I had everything I needed. So now I have the gun.
And how much you collected at this point?
Oh gosh, try and remember back then. I want to say I owned 50 semi-automatic, and I owned, I think it was 30 fully automatic. So as you guys say in Germany, about 50 half automatic, about 30 full automatic. And then I rented a bunch too.
It means in summary 80?
80 just for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for that. So now we have the guns. Now we got to get the shells made. During this time of me buying, they were designing and designing and designing. The problem we had on Starship Troopers, the biggest problem we had, is that I'm just a gun expert. This is what I do for a living, but no one wanted to listen to me. Okay, we needed to what they call injection mold these parts. We needed to pay the money.
I read about that, about your opinion in the forum. Yeah, you wrote that. Yeah.
It was very important because we would get exact parts that would match up perfectly. And you could take, if one cracked, you could take a gun and drop it in.
But this is of course a very expensive process.
Not as expensive as you think.
Steel molds.
Yes, you do, but to get a mold made at the time was $10,000.
Yeah.
And then to pull the parts out of each one was $2.50 a side. $5 for the shell for a rifle. That was it. So there would have been money up front, but it would have been better. And let's just say we messed one up so bad that we had to remake a mold. Or let's say we made 2 molds. It would have been way cheaper than what we did. What we did is we went to a very good company called K&BFX. And they basically manufactured it. They laid up, they made the shell for it. Mm-hmm. Everything was hand laid in fiberglass.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolute 110% shit. You should not make gun shells like that. It is freaking ridiculous because no two are going to be alike.
What kind of molds they use?
They had a mold that they would lay the resin in, and then I would go in there and they'd be laying. It was a hard silicone mold.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a really soft, pliable
the usual
one.
way if
Yes.
you make
Yes.
hand layering. So that is, by the way, the same method.
Yes.
Like we produce our Moritas.
And that's fine for that, but now you're not putting a real gun in there.
Yeah, there must be no live fire gun in it.
That's the problem. So now you've got a shell that it's different thicknesses. It's nothing is the same.
It's handmade.
It doesn't line up perfect. That's why you see the seams are a little crooked. I was losing my mind. Okay, so we get them, and I go to drop the gun in. Now I've had to design the entire interior mechanism, how this is going to work. How am I going to suspend the shotgun? What kind of flash hider do I want on the front of it? So I go to my gun sources in the US. I need flash hiders. What do you need? I want something beefy. Let's see, how many do you need? I need about 150 to 200. Oh shit, that's a lot. Let me see what I can find. Get a call back from a good friend of mine. Hey, I have a line on almost 200 M60 flash hiders from the M60. Great, what's the price? He tells me, awesome, I'll take them. All of them. Okay, so they came out. That's how the flash hider became the way it is. And it looks good on the gun.
Yeah.
It looks beefy. You know, you can't have a little flash hider and a big giant Morita. It looks stupid.
Yeah.
So we needed something
Yeah,
big.
this makes
It's
the
beefy.
weapon huge.
Yeah, it's big. So we do that. Then I had to put a sleeve around here. Then I had to, again, suspend the shotgun. I had to figure out how to make the shotgun trigger and the gun trigger all work. You know, and return springs and safeties and ejections and all of this I'm designing while they're laying up the shells. Okay, shells are done. Time to put the guns in. Go in to put the guns in. How the fuck do I put the guns in here? What do you mean? They don't lay in. I need brackets to hold it. It has to be tight. The gun can't move. What do you mean? I mean what the fuck I told you earlier. I need this thing to be stationary. So, their solution was take Bondo. Do you know what Bondo is? For car repairs, you know you have a dent in your car and you don't pull the dent, you just smear it over and you sand it and paint it.
Putty, yeah.
Yeah, it's a putty. It's a very hard putty. That was what they did. We're going to put a blob of Bondo here.
So
Here,
they glued it.
kind of. What they did is they attached the Bondo in the back and in the middle of the gun. And then I had to drop the gun in it and set it in place
Until
it hardened,
and then
pop it out, and then there was the little ridges there.
Yeah.
Some of them were a little bit too big, so you had to shave them down because they would interfere with the gun. Absolute, total, freaking nightmare. Okay, now
and of course it will be for every
single gun was hand fitted by us. Okay, now we have the guns, the shells are built. They're not lining up correctly. We're having some problems. Screws are pulling out. Just it's the biggest nightmare you could ever imagine. Nothing was built the way I asked. That's a whole political discussion I can't get into on why they built them. I'm not going to get into that. There's a handful of people that know, and we just keep it at that. But it was a major fight with me and them and production and everything. but politics won out instead of practicality. First weeks of filming, guns are not working. Paul is losing his freaking mind because the guns go to fire and they're having issues. Triggers aren't working, guns are jamming. You pull the trigger once, the gun will just start firing the whole magazine full auto. Just tons of issues. What was happening is that everything on the inside of the shell was so out of spec.
Wait a second. Can you check the cam if that is working yet? Because I hear some noise here. Is it working?
No.
Oh.
Scheiße.
Yeah. Oh.
Is it in?
So we have to make a small break.
During our journey to Berlin, we lost even our professional camera team, so that we had no technical support at the location and had to handle a lot of technical issues there. Nevertheless, that could not stop us to query all these exciting details about the Morita development process for the movie. So therefore, let's continue to hear what the master wants to tell us about it.
So that is take 2. Okay.
Okay,
Let's
so
continue.
I'll go back just a little bit. So we had to lay the Bondo pieces in to the gun. Everything had to dry, pull them out. Guns were not working. Paul's upset. Guns are not firing. They're stuck on full automatic. They're not doing anything correctly. The problem is that when the fiberglass shells were made, everything was out of spec. So it was binding on triggers. It was catching on the guns, trying to cycle, catching the springs, everything else. It was just absolute shit, complete and total shit. So for the first 2 weeks, my crew and I worked 20 hours a day. After work, we'd get in the truck and we would work. And I would let the guys, they would obviously sleep 4 hours, but I would let them each get another hour of sleep somewhere during the night just to get rested because we had gunfire. We were running like crazy.
How much guns did you have?
120 firing guns. 120 firing guns. Yeah. So we had, we call them blank fire. We don't say live, we say blank because live fire means you're actually firing live bullets. So we say blank fire.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So 120 blank firing guns that every single one of them, my crew or I had to hand shave and hand getting in there with Dremels and grinders and making it sure, and then putting it together, screwing it all back together, testing it. Nope, it's still catching, and going back and shaving down more and doing it. Each gun took forever to do because every gun had to be hand done and no two were alike. Again, it would have saved production a lot of money if they would have listened to my suggestion and gone with injection molding. It not only would have been cheaper in the long run for all the parts, but we would have had backup parts. Parts would have been readily available for fans. Everything. It would have just been the easiest thing to do, period. And we wouldn't have had to work 20 hours a day for 2 weeks, killing ourselves trying to fix these guns. So we went from a 90% failure rate to a 90% success rate, which is highly acceptable for a customized gun. And by the time we were done filming, we were at about a 95% success rate of the guns running.
Great result.
Yeah, it was a great result. So during the building of the guns, I had short barrels and I had long barrels. So I needed to extend the length of the gun out because we knew we wanted a very large gun. So I had an idea of building what they call an expansion chamber. At the time, I had been doing paintball with some friends of mine, some other military guys I served with. And in paintball, they have expansion chambers to allow the gas to expand out of the tube and make it readily available for the gun. And I thought, well, what if we could do something like that with blanks? So I tested, while things were being built, I tested barrel extensions, various diameters inside to make barrel extensions, to allow the gas to actually build up so you get a huge, you can see the muzzle flash on the guns. When you're at, when you're at the outpost and you're looking from way far away and you see the guns firing, you can see the muzzle flashes. And those are not put in visual effects, those are real. So the
huge muzzle flashes with five
with the stars, coming out off of here.
Yeah.
So you see that. And that's because we did things like expansion chambers, things that hadn't been done before. So it was a lot of testing and a lot of trial and error. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, that load's too hot. That load's not hot enough. I'm not getting the fire I want. I want this fire. I want it a little more yellow. I want it, a little more white. Everything had to be custom done.
How you influenced the color of the fire?
Yeah, you can put different things in it, everything from aluminum dust to all kinds of things mixed in with the gunpowder to give it different colors. So there's also certain brands of gunpowder that'll burn a different color. Some, like, for example, we did some visual effects and muzzle captures for Matrix 4 yesterday. And the blanks that we got locally are very white. Way too white. I don't like white blanks. I think they look fake. I wanted more yellow and orange. So we went back to the American stuff that we brought in that had been custom loaded for the show. But these are just examples of what we had to go through to build the Merida. So once we got the loads done, then it was we know the color we like, or I like. Now, how much powder do we need? What's going to be too much? So we went really hot and broke a couple guns. So then I had to get repair parts to fix the guns. Then we got a little too low, and I'm like, the fire's only like this. It's not working right. And it's got to be big. You're killing bugs, for God's sakes. You can't have a little fire like this and anybody in their right mind is going to believe that you're blowing legs off of a bug. An arachnid's coming towards you and you're shooting at it and you got this little meow, 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 little, sissy gun shooting and the thing's getting blown into bits and you're supposed to believe that that's really happening. So it had to be big.
Yeah.
And when you watch it, and you see the big fireballs coming out of the guns, and you're watching these big insects getting blown. Exactly, and big fire. Kill them with fire. So that's basically the entire story of the Merida on how the build went down, how the nightmare was.
What was the whole time needed from design starting point until you had a real working weapon in the hand?
I want to say off the top of my head, and you got to remember this is a long time ago. This is a lot of movies ago. Yeah. I believe I had 4 months.
4 months.
4 months from, I think it might have even been close to 5, to be honest with you.
But this sounds to me very quick.
It's crazy quick, but that's movies.
5 months to develop a complete,
let's
say, real weapon. So of course it was based on some existing parts, but you had to recombine it, and as you told, you have to consider some problems and all of that, and to take into account that it fits to the outer design.
Yes.
Of course, it should be a science fiction weapon.
Yes, what had to happen first was that we had to basically come up with the first thing that had to happen was I needed to take the gun we were going to use while they were coming up with drawings. I needed to come up with the gun, and I needed to temporarily mount a shotgun below it so we could get measurements. We had to know how wide it had to be. We had to know the thicknesses of the various points. Like if you look at the Merida here, we had to know, okay, the action of the gun goes along here. It's all along this area here. How am I going to remote the triggers? How much room do I need for the triggers to work? How much room do I need for the springs? Where's the bracket for the shotgun? How's the shotgun going to attach to the gun? How big's the bracket going to be? So everything had to be built with a prototype so that we could get measurements to know how big the actual gun had to be. And then it was a matter of build it within an inch or two of this, and then I'll make it work.
Who made the prototype of it, of this shell?
The shell was made by the same people, K&B. They made the first one. They basically laid it up. They came up with drawings and specs, and they handed me a sheet that had every single measurement. And I looked at the gun again, and I measured every single component. I said, yes, that should work. And then they went in and they made one. They laid one up. While they were still laying up a couple more because they needed to lay up as many as possible, as quickly as possible. That's a lot of work to do, you know, for 120 guns. And as soon as I got one, we looked at the gun. That's great, but I need you to do this. The gun's got to be held here, and it's got to be held here. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. We'll cut that in the mold, and it'll be great. And I said, yeah, just reinforce it here. Give me a little bit extra fiberglass front and back so that it's really stiff. Okay, yeah. And I went back to pick up shells, and nothing happened.
It sounds like an absolutely exciting process.
A stressful process.
Stressful.
Yeah, because you're doing a huge, expensive movie at the time, and you've got a really great director like Paul Verhoeven that you're trying to make happy and give him what he wants. He has a vision, and you're trying to help him reach that vision. And that's a lot of stress and weight on you when something is out of your control. Now, if this was in my control, if I would have been able to go to a injection molding company, which I had talked to two, and I could have gone in literally every day and say, no, that's wrong, do this, no, that's wrong, do that. I had no control. So for political reasons, again, the shells were made and handed to me, and then I was like, make it work. And that's when I started losing sleep at night. That's when I was stressed. You know, the easiest gun out of all of it was the damn tower guns. Okay, this is no problem. We're going to use 50 cals. We're going to put this barrel on it. Paul likes the look of it. No problem. That looks great. Brought him a gun. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, but maybe there were also not so much to build. So how much you did from this?
We only built 3 of those.
3?
There were 3 with twins, so there were 6 guns, 3 tower guns, 2 on the tower, 1 backup. And then, and the 2 that were in the tower, we rotated 1 out because we had a mount go down. A piece broke on the mount. So we had to crane a new one up and put it up. And then,
that would be my next question. You need a crane.
We craned them up. Yeah, they're so heavy. I have a hard time sliding them out by myself.
Why?
Oh, I have no idea. If I was guessing with the guns on it and everything, 1,000 pounds. So let's just say 400 and something kilos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, too much for 1 or 2 people to move.
Half of a usual car.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a gun. It's like a gun safe. So they had to crane the second one up, put it in. When the tower collapsed and the tower went down, the actual mount because I'm one of the gunners on the tower. I'm the gunner. As you're looking at the back of the tower, I'm the gunner on the left. My assistant, Chris Davis, is on the right. We were both the gunners.
Okay.
So,
and that means you wear that helmet with the visor.
I have the helmet with the visor. I have my wardrobe. I have everything I wore in the film I still have.
Great.
Yeah, so I have everything. So when the tower comes down and collapses and everything gets destroyed, we had rubber guns in there, the mounts. Chris's mount got totally mangled as it went down, and my mount stayed really good. So we went back and unbolted mine and put it on my quad runner and towed it back to my trailer and went in my trailer, and they scrapped everything else and I kept my mount. And that's the only mount that survived the whole movie. Yeah, so, but that was the easy part. You know, I can find mounts that hold 250 caliber machine guns. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, but the other
that's
sounds,
the problem.
Yeah, that's more complicated because you have to do a high number of it.
Well, you have to do a high number. Then we also had the carbines. Let's not forget the Merita carbines. So that's a conversation with Paul to say, okay, so now you've got your pilots or you've got your senior NCOs, you know, Ratchek and all those guys. Do you want them to have a big ass Merita, or do you want them to have something a little more, you know, portable? You know, the officers. And, you know, what about when Carmen pulls out the gun and shoots bugs, you know, I mean, you know, she's shooting at things. Do you want her to wield this giant gun, try to pull it out of this little pod?
considering small people, yeah?
Yeah, so he said, you know, what can we do? And I said, let's make a small version. We'll call it a carbine. And he liked the idea, so we laid that up, and that was great. We didn't have many of those. And then I said to them, I said to Paul, you want to check that? Yeah, so there's the carbine.
Principle means the carbine, so it's not exactly...
No, this part to about here is pretty much the same on both guns. It's just extended here. No shotgun, obviously. Lot smaller, but every component in it, every trigger piece, everything else we did was the same, except it would have a shorter barrel extension. We decided, after discussing with Paul, we wanted to differentiate between MI and the frickin' air weenies. So, mobile infantry, we wanted to go with green. Green and black, traditional Merida color. We know what we want. So, for the pilots, I said, why we don't want to give them green. We need to show there's a major difference between mobile infantry and the pilots. There's a whole fight that takes place. There's a lot of animosity between the two groups. They don't mix. So why should they have the same gun? They should be above everybody because they think they are. So we changed the color. We kind of went with a color that was close to the uniform color. So we tried some different spray painting colors to find a proper color until we got the color we wanted. Painted one up, built it, showed it to Paul. He loved it, thought it looked great, liked the idea of the two different color guns. One for them, one for MI. And
so what they had, where was it black guns?
No, it was like, it's more of a
because
darker silvery gray.
Black helmets and black armor.
Yes, but we didn't want to put a black gun because black guns have been, you see black guns everywhere.
Yeah.
And black guns you're going to lose in low light. So now when you're in a tunnel or something and they've got a fire and it's low light, they're making it look dark and gloomy and with the bugs and everything else. Having a black gun, you don't get to see it. Yeah. So if you paint it like a darker gray, like a silvery gray with like a little bit of a metallic to it, had just a little metallic flake, it'll catch light in the right way that you can see the gun.
The fleet had this gray one.
Yes.
And the mobile infantry, the greenish one.
Yes. Yeah. All MI had green. That was always going to be the plan. Paul wanted green. That was it. They were manufactured in green. Okay. All the pilots, all the fleet guns, everything there is all in a gray silver, but it's been spray painted. Okay. That's one more thing I forgot to mention about the inside of the Meritas. So once we start firing now, the guns are firing blanks, which is hot. And it started melting the fiberglass shells because it was absorbing the heat. Next challenge, exactly. So I had to go buy cases of silver engine paint for automotive engines, disassemble all the guns, spray paint the inside that would get hot with silver paint, put a nice good coat, let it dry, and then hit it again so that it would protect and reflect it.
What is used on cars for the exhaust?
Yes, well, you can do it for exhaust, you can do it for engine parts.
Yeah.
So guys can take the heads of their engine and paint it silver if they want. It's just a very high temperature.
That helps?
Yeah, because what it did is it was silver, so it reflected the heat back. It insulated it and it reflected the heat away. So the guns, while they got warm, they weren't burning hot. As it was just fiberglass. So the heat off the guns would come and it would just absorb into the shells and they would get hot and they would start getting soft.
Yeah, and not only the guns were hot, also the environment.
The environment sucked.
The movie shooting was done, so it was also very hot.
It was hot at times. Sometimes it was very cold. There was when we filmed at Hell's Half Acre, it actually snowed once.
I have heard of
so
Wyoming.
Yes. So when everybody jokes about when hell freezes over, that was a big joke. Well, it snowed in hell. Question on the Merida. Well, why do you have this hump here, like a sight? You can't use it. The handle's in the way. Yeah. Originally, the plan was to have an opening here to use the sight and a giant opening here. That was the original. The original plan is I wanted a ridge along here, along the whole top to line up with this, and I wanted this to be a V-notch to use it as a sight. Then that went away, and then there are two that were made for the movie that have a digital screen back here. One went to a friend of mine, one went to me.
Okay.
And it's a counter. As you pull the trigger, it counts down from 100 to tell you how many rounds you have left.
Similar to the pulse rifle. In
Yes.
Alien.
Yep. Similar to that. Yep. We had a countdown. So you pull the trigger, release the trigger, it would count down from 100, 80. Tell you how many rounds left you had. 62. 35. And it would just tell you what you were supposed to have left. And that was just for show. That was for vision.
Cool.
But we never really got to it.
This is an often placed question from the fans. How to make targeting with the Morita?
Yes.
How to do that?
It's a great question. It's a valid question. And the fans should understand that originally the designs that I wanted to have in place would have had the hole cut out for a sight.
Yeah.
To be able to put your eye behind it. That's why the handle was originally there, to give it like a nod. We agreed to the handle because that was a nod to the M16. The M16 had a handle. So we did that. We extended it out because the whole gun's bigger. Something to carry, we call it a carry handle. We cut ventilation things in the sides here so that air could get in to help cool the barrels. But the sight was the issue. And based upon the fiberglass stuff and the delay of time, as we were getting down to us getting close to filming, we were screaming. They were working guys around the clock 7 days a week to lay these things up. Their eyes were bigger than they thought. And there was a lot, I know the money spent, and I won't say how much, but if production would have listened to me, they could have paid less than half of what we paid to have those made, and they would have gotten a better product. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it as far as the outside looks. It's all internal. And you know, I hate to knock anybody. It looks amazing on the outside. Practicality. It's no wonder the bugs give us a run for the money. You know what I mean? So, yeah. All right. Hi guys, Rock Galati here, weapons coordinator, Starship Troopers, and designer of the Morita rifle. How are you? I want to thank all the fans for their loyalty to Starship Troopers. It was an honor to be part of the first film. I appreciate how the fans have embraced it and won't let it die, don't let it be forgotten, and that you all have stayed loyal and true and working on earning your citizenship. And I thank you all. And when I do run into fans, every single fan I've ever talked to has been respectful, polite, nice, kind, and I thank you for that. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for keeping Starship Troopers alive. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rock.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Cut.
That was the Morita story. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and come back if you want to know more.
Ain't nothing left, going till there ain't nothing, keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left, going till there ain't nothing, keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't